Let's be honest, Google is awesome. It offers you the best apps and services for free. But there's no denying the fact that nothing is free. You pay for it with your data.
I mean, have you watched your Google activity? Let me tell you how mine looks like. You can see where I've been to, where do I sit, where's my office, what do I browse. I mean, that's scary enough.
So the question has to be asked, can you stop giving your data to Android and still use your Android phone? Well, let's find out. So how do I stop Google from collecting data from my Android? Uninstall all the Google apps from my phone, right? Well, not exactly.
The Android version of Google is not exactly stock. In fact, it is AOSP, Android Open Source Project, which obviously is open source. But Google puts a layer of GApps and Play services on top of AOSP to make their version of Android, which obviously most smartphones these days have.
Now the problem with GApps and Play services is that they can send data to Google. And the only way to get rid of it is a custom ROM which doesn't have GApps. So let's flash this.
The next obvious choice would be an open source ROM like Resurrection Remix or Lineage OS. So now let's get to the fastboot mode. Boot this to TWRP recovery, wipe data, system, internal storage. Finally, OK Google, bye bye.
Now I'll sideload Lineage OS and get a cup of coffee meanwhile. This should take time.
So it is done. Now I have this Google Pixel without Google. Ironic.
But there's one problem now. Google Play services are required for the functioning of other Android apps which use maps, fingerprints, apps such as Instagram, Paytm, Uber. But now Play services are not there, so these apps won't work. Damn Google, you have to make it so hard.
Thankfully, you can install an app called MicroG, which will give you all the perks of Google Play services without any tracking from Google.
Cool. Now that I have MicroG, I can go about it and install apps.
But wait, there's no App Store. Again, I'll install Yelp Store, which is an alternative for Play Store without any tracking. Or you can use F-Droid as well.
So what apps do I install now? I mostly use my phone for tasks like calls, messages, social media, streaming music and videos, and yeah, camera.
So I shortlisted a few Google app alternatives for the next 1 week. For calls and messages, I already have the AOSP variants. Next, a private, secure DuckDuckGo browser to replace Google Chrome. Instagram and WhatsApp should work fine thanks to MicroG. And for maps, OpenStreetMap. Netflix and Hotstar to replace YouTube and Dropbox instead of Google Drive. Prime Photos for you instead of Google Photos. Open Camera for taking pictures, and finally Proton Mail instead of Gmail.
So let's try this setup for a few days and see if I can actually use this Android phone without Google.
I have to say I am surprised and at the same time relieved. Like, to be honest, when I started this experiment, I had zero hopes like you could practically use this phone without any Google services. But turns out you can. The basic functions for the phone like calling and texting worked fine, which was expected. But what I didn't expect was the apps like WhatsApp, Instagram, Spotify, Dropbox, Uber, Slack to work flawlessly. Obviously, there were occasional glitches here and there, like if you could see this Uber app. It gets my exact location, but the map is half drawn. It's all glitchy and confusing. Another thing, most apps use Google Cloud Messaging to push messages from the server. It works partially in MicroG. I do get random notifications, but mostly I have to open the app, refresh it, and then the notifications appear. Also, I did face some problems with Paytm and Netflix, but it was cool. And yes, Yelp Store couldn't install Twitter, InShots, PhonePe, Sync, etc. But I found a Yelp Store alternative called Aurora Store, which did the trick for me. I have to admit, I did miss Gmail. so I started using it on DuckDuckGo browser. It prevents fingerprinting, but still, Gmail knows it's me. Hi there, Gmail. And since I cannot live without YouTube, I ended up downloading the YouTube app, but I didn't sign in. Agreed, it won't be the best experience, but you can make the most of it work by using Google services like YouTube, Google Maps, and Gmail without signing in. So this was a pretty good experience. Turns out you can actually use your Android phone without Google services. I would really recommend you to try that. So I gave up on Gmail, Google Maps. Like, OpenStreetMaps is good, but not that good. It is confusing. It cannot pick up my location when I'm in a building or indoors. I could switch to Here Maps, which works flawlessly and as good as Google Maps. But it's like taking data from one company and giving it to the other. So I'm using Google Maps, but without signing in and on the browser. So here's the conclusion. When you first set up your Android phone, you have to enter your Gmail ID and, oh yes, agree to the privacy policies as well. Now, thanks to the Play services that are already installed on all Android phones, Google links your email ID to a unique ID, or let us call it a virtual profile. Now, this ID is used to track all your activities across all devices, and it's later passed on to the advertisers. Obviously, Google doesn't share your email address, but it does share your unique ID. So Google knows that this unique ID is using this phone, shopping these products, browsing these websites, and watching these YouTube videos, commenting on them, and what exactly you're commenting. So the next time, be careful. However, if you use your phone without Google services by installing a privacy-friendly ROM, Google won't be able to create that unique ID against your email ID, and thus no direct tracking. Obviously, you will lose a lot of Google functionalities, but you can get most of it back with MicroG. In my experience, it is practical, and I encourage you to try it as well, because personal data should be your data and not big data, period. And on that note, this is Prateek signing off. See you another time with some other service.